Look, you don't want to be hauling ass 90 hours a week in a coal mine, so why am I spitting in the face of work-life balance? The idea makes sense. We all do what we have to do to pay the bills, but how many of us really like the jobs that allow us to do so? If your boss told you you wouldn't be paid for the coming week, would you still show up? If the answer is no, is it really that you like your job, or is it merely that you tolerate it? Monday to Friday, most of us complete boring, repetitive, or downright unpleasant tasks, all for the personal gain of someone else. Almost by definition, a job is something you'd never do for free. That's why they call it work and write you a check every couple of weeks. And we're lucky enough to live at an age where there's a definite cap on how much work you can be expected to do and how long you can be expected to do it. There are reasons the 40-hour work week is the industry standard. Thanks to labor laws, little Oliver Twist isn't slicing his tiny hands open, filling in hydrocarbons 14 hours a day. In the West, at least. And for the most part, employers can't simply expect to give employees unlimited amounts of work to complete in limited amounts of time. So, if I spend most of my waking hours at a place I don't enjoy inhabiting, alongside people I don't like talking to, performing tasks I don't really care about, and I have a gating mechanism keeping these floodgates from opening and spilling over into the rest of my day, why wouldn't I want to ensure there's a healthy balance between the part of my life that must be present for me to acquire the resources necessary for survival and the part of my life I actually like living? The issue I have with the idea of work-life balance and the discussion surrounding it is that we tend to default to discussing the quantity of our work and ways to limit it, rather than focusing on the quality and content of our work and how to enhance it. My disagreement isn't so much with the notion that the workday and its attendant tasks needn't be kept in check. It's that finding the optimal amount of time to spend on work versus personal tasks is the prize that most of us could most benefit from striving after, rather than searching for work that's actually worth investing time into. If a space in my life is so inherently unenjoyable and bereft of personal meaning that sitting in it degrades my mental and or my physical health, maybe that's the definition of toxic. And maybe I shouldn't be there. The traditional idea of work-life balance is that if we find the correct proportion of work versus personal time, have strategies to manage this time and systems to track various upcoming tasks and ongoing projects, then we'll be okay. Rather than trying to fulfill our unique needs through highly strategic approaches to cookie-cutter positions, a more fruitful and a healthier goal in the long term is to find ways to fulfill the needs currently addressed by our jobs, namely social standing, a sense of personal industry, and generating an income. Dostoevsky wrote that if man should have nothing else to do but sleep, eat cakes, and busy himself with the continuation of the species, then out of sheer ingratitude, sheer spite, man would play you some nasty trick. I don't think most of us find fulfillment without difficult undertakings to pursue and meaningful output to show for our efforts. In many ways, I believe man is a beast of burden, one that can bear almost any how if it's in pursuit of the right why. Many of us, myself included, get our sense of being productive citizens from our jobs. Andy Frisella, CEO of First Form Supplements, published an episode of his Real AF podcast in 2020 titled 1000 Days. He discussed the regret, small-minded thinking, and feeling of insurmountability that most of us associate with our goals, and asked the simple yet salient question: what would happen if we took the same fastidious attention to detail, timely industriousness, and workmanlike effort we so readily bring to our jobs and applied it to our own lives? What could a man accomplish in 3 years if he devoted himself to the project of his own existence with the same diligence and consistency with which he devotes himself from his 9 to 5? 3 years. Plenty of us have gone that long without taking a vacation from work. How many of us have put streaks together like that in pursuit of goals we personally value? If one were to sincerely devote himself to the project of his own life and truly do his best to make it something beautiful, I sincerely doubt he'd lack a sense of personal industry. It's the first question posed on any terrible first date boring party, or meeting of two awkward strangers? What do you do? Sometimes this question is a genuine attempt to understand where the other person is coming from, how their work informs their perspective, or how they spend their days. But more often, it's a thinly veiled dick measuring contest, a way of asking which one of us gets to look down on the other. Our work, the salary, prestige, or stigma that comes with it, is where most of us source our position in the dominance hierarchy. It's the reason most of us would probably rather be a doctor in a low-paying specialty than a physician's assistant in a high-paying one. Even though the latter may end up with higher take-home pay, prestige is a powerful thing for a primate, and we're kidding ourselves if we think we've grown out of it. Maybe I'm biased here. My job doesn't come with a boost in social standing or invitations to $10,000 a plate fundraisers with the caviar crowd. But I think there are many more personally meaningful ways to obtain this social standing outside of work. Community leadership, eldership in religious organizations, mentorship, athletic pursuits, recognition for artistic contributions, and meaningful volunteer work are all ways to get clout that don't involve thoughting on the gram or passing the bar just so you can practice law for 2 weeks to prove that you could do it. I'll admit it. This last one is the mother lode, and it's the one I have least figured out. Here I can only stand on the shoulders of giants and take my cues from those who have actually gotten their shit together. Nicholas Cole, wordsmith and digital writer, whose work has garnered over 100 million views, posted a Twitter thread a few months back about making 100K plus a year. His advice was to pick something you love, choose one thing and ignore everything else, become category king of that one thing, and continually test yourself. He says, everyone wants to know how to make money, but very few people want to know how to be good enough at a skill worthy of money. Stop focusing on the dollars. Mastery is what matters. Similarly, Naval says, be the best in the world at what you do. Keep redefining what you do until that's true. So even if the goal is a fat stack of cash and a bank account bursting with commas, are you more likely to put in the time, effort, and consistency required to achieve excellence if you're doing something you can just barely tolerate, or if you're immersed in a pursuit that you find deeply meaningful? The world might be too small and too fragile to handle unlimited freedom. The level of freedom required for every single man, woman, and child to pursue only what fills them with purpose most. After all, the miserable and menial jobs still need to get done. But the world can handle this much freedom. Freedom enough that everyone watching can truly ask themselves what that purpose is and take real action towards achieving it. Fulfilling your psychosocial needs on your terms in a way that you have truly chosen and are uniquely suited to is better for the market as a whole. After all, who wants an employee who at best can muster begrudged compliance? It might mean you don't spend a third of your waking hours living a life of quiet desperation. Thanks for watching.